Graph y equals -2 secant of 3x plus pi over a 1-period interval. To graph the secant function, we will first graph the cosine function as a guide. Y equals -2 times cosine 3x plus pi. We graph that first as a dotted version of it, just to use it as a guide. We're not actually graphing cosine. We want to graph secant. But this represents, we have a phase shift of -pi over 3, so we went pi over 3 units to the left. We have an amplitude of 2, and the graph is actually flipped. So we have a couple of changes that were made here, but we graphed that cosine function based upon how we've graphed it before. And now we are going to actually graph secant. So everywhere that I have a point at the middle of the graph, that is where secant will have an asymptote. So we're going to draw on our dotted vertical lines to represent the places where secant is undefined. Once we have our asymptotes, then we can graph secant. So we go to the points, the extreme points, the maximum and minimum values of cosine, and those will be the points that cosine and secant share. Once we have those extreme points, then we form our U-shaped graph going away from cosine but getting close to the asymptotes. Then once we erase cosine, what we're left with is the graph of secant.